Hello, friends. Good morning, and welcome back to the Patreon podcast. This week, I was thinking about something that I kind of touched on the first episode, but it's the idea of good enough. And I feel that this is a bit of a catchphrase for my streams, and I kind of wanted to go in and explain why it's so important for me to be okay with good enough. So, I'm sure you're all familiar because you're part of this Patreon, but the 2-hour track challenge is a timed music making event. And what I do during that is I have to make a lot of decisions. And these decisions have a ripple effect throughout the rest of the project, of the time that I have left. So I have to make the correct decisions, or at least the good decisions. And sometimes I spend time on a thing and realize that it doesn't work, and then I have to basically just chop it out of the project and start over. That's happened, that's happened plenty of times. But there are other times where I really, really want to further develop something or explore a certain area of the project that I'm working on. But I'm out of time. I know how much time I need for the rest of this project and how much time I need to allocate for things like finishing the arrangement, making sure everything's volume is okay, all of these other technical or creative projects that I need to do, technical or creative tasks that I need to do inside of this project before the time runs out. And I have to figure out when it's good enough, when it's okay for me to say this will work, and then I can move on. Because it's very, very easy to get wrapped up in like music production and just twiddling knobs trying to find the best setting out of 1,000 or 1,000,000 settings. And I know that that's something that people joke about a lot online, and I think every early music producer has had this where they've spent, 2 hours or 3 hours trying to find the perfect sound for this song, the perfect sample for your kick or for your hi-hat. And 99% of the time, you can find that sample within the first maybe 3 minutes. But it's easy to go through and try to tread water, to try to find that perfect sample, because that perfect sample will elevate your song to the next level. And that's usually not how it works. Because a lot of the time, when you find that perfect sample, it makes it sound better for you, but for the person listening to the song, the person who's not familiar with the process and is just enjoying music, that person really can't tell the difference. And I'm not trying to say this to dissuade you from doing stuff like this. Obviously, it's important to do the best you can at all times, but it's also important not to get wrapped up in the minutia of what you feel is perfect. Because again, what you feel is perfect is by no means anybody else's definition of perfect. I've found that when you don't embrace good enough, when you do spend a ton of time trying to find that perfect sample or trying to get everything lined up in your design, I find that to be, what was it? I think I kind of want to call it productive procrastination, because it feels like you're doing something, but you're really not. You're basically just stalling. Whether that's because you don't have ideas at the moment, or whether you just don't want to work on that specific thing right now, it creates this kind of disconnect where, yes, you're technically working, but you're not working on anything productive. And it's important to know when something is good enough to just be okay with that and move on. because that'll allow you to keep moving forward on the project, and it'll allow you to finish that project. And then the nice thing is once that project is finished or nearly finished, you can go back and spend that time finding the perfect hat sample or making sure that everything is lined up. It's important to finish your project. And I know I say this a lot, but finishing your project is a skill. And the problem with skills is that they need to be worked on to be improved. And the problem with finishing is that it doesn't always happen very often. It's very, very easy to start a project. It's very easy to practice playing the piano, but finishing a song or finishing a game, that happens rarely. And it's important to learn how to finish things, because otherwise you're not going to get better at finishing things. And that's one of the reasons why I really like the 2 Hour Track Challenge and other timed events like the Ludum Dare, I can't remember how it's pronounced. But like game dev challenges or any other Inktober, those kinds of challenges, because they allow you to realize what is good enough and what good enough actually means. Because when you have a time limit, you have to embrace good enough. You have to say, like, this is what I'm looking for generally, and I can take that and I can finish my project. So that's all I have for this one. Thank you so much for listening and being a patron. I hope you have a great weekend. Be remarkable.